love ball like I do, After Dark's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Dauster. I have with me Kevin Sweeney, and I have with me Ant Wright, the star of Michigan's basketball program from back in the day. He is the guy that has roasted Stu Douglas relentlessly on Twitter/X for the last 2 weeks, and he's the perfect guy to have on here because we are going to be talking about whether or not the state of Michigan owns the Big Ten at this point this season. We're going to talk a little bit about Purdue's win over Nebraska today. Oregon had another bounce-back win, third straight win. They came back from down big in the second half to find a way to be able to win. Great way to get back from that embarrassing loss against Illinois. And I do want to pick Kevin Sweeney's brain on the Illini and how worried he is about the loss that they took on Saturday afternoon to the Must Bus. But we're going to start down in Evanston. Sweeney's alma mater was hosting number 16 Michigan State, and Sparty goes in there. They're up by as many as 22 in the first half and managed to hold on to a 78-68 win against the Wildcats. Sweeney, I'm kind of in, man. I have a take on Michigan State here in a little bit, but I'm kind of in on this team as not only a Big Ten title contender, but like a real threat to be able to make some noise in March. Where do you stand on the Spartans?
Yeah, they were really good for really all 40 minutes. I know they sort of faded late. Northwestern made a little bit of a push, but Welsh Ryan and Northwestern as a whole have sort of been a house of horrors for Michigan State the last several years. Boo Boo especially, like they've picked them off a couple times at Welsh Ryan, and then even got them once in East Lansing, I believe, 2 years ago. That was a big part of them making their run and getting to the NCAA tournament. So the fact that they were able to be as dominant as they were was impressive. Michigan been dominant as a whole in Big Ten play, right? Really, with the exception of that Ohio State game. They've cruised in every ball game, and it's hard not to be impressed. Their balance, they have different guys that can step up on different nights. Fears is playing at a really high level now, but they just have different. They just keep coming at you, right? Their depth is such a strength because, I thought in the first half of this game, Northwestern was trying to battle and hang in and couldn't get anything going offensively. And here comes Fiddler with a couple buckets, and here's Jace Richardson, and Zapala got him early for a couple. Like, it's just different guys on different nights, and it doesn't. They don't egos. They just battle, man. This is an interesting Michigan State group.
Ant?
Yeah, I mean, in this game particularly, you have Martinelli and Barnhizer coming in as one of, if not the top scoring duos in the entire country. Martinelli got his. He had about, 27. But Brooks Barnhizer went 2 for 13 and 0 for 6 from 3, and that's kind of what won Michigan State the game. Michigan State hasn't lost since Game 2 of Maui. Like, that is a long time ago. And they've done it defensively. They just wear teams down with their depth. They played 10 guys between 13 and 27 minutes, and they all know their role. Jaden Akins has done a great job becoming a leader of this team through example. The only double-figure score. But you're looking at a Northwestern team who moves to 1-4 after a decent start to the year. And we have that Big Ten tourney bubble watch. I'm going to bring it up every time I'm on here because I think it's hilarious, where the bottom three don't make the conference tournament. And they've got Maryland, Michigan, and Indiana and Illinois coming up. They go to Illinois, after, beating them earlier, and then that's their one win. Like, this team could be 0-5, which is insane. I think they have to split at very least coming up here. But this team is not going to win many games if both Martinelli and Barnhizer aren't showing up. It's got to be both of them. That's got to be a constant. And that just wasn't the case. A bunch of stars didn't show up today. So this was the case in this game where Barnhizer just – and I watched every single attempt he took. It wasn't just one person. Like, he had Fiddler on him. He had, Booker on him. He had Colin Carr on him, Trey Holloman on him, Jaden Akins on him. So many different bodies. And, Michigan State was throwing fresh legs at him constantly throughout the entire game, switching on him, going under ball screens, making them work. And that's how Michigan State pretty much kept this lead, comfortably in double digits throughout the entire game.
Yeah, so it's going to feel very weird for me to say this, as Joey Jennings just put in the chat. it's worrying that Michigan State can't shoot better from the arc than Ant Wright did when he was in college. They're still under 29% right now.
They shot open. They have open shots. I was being chased by pit bulls all the time. All the time.
Well, here's the thing about Michigan State right now, right? Is if you kind of look at what Tom Izzo has always wanted that program to be, it's rebounding and it's getting out in transition, right? And then the rest of the stuff kind of figures it out. But if you end possessions, you get extra possessions, and you get easy buckets in transition, like that's kind of what makes Michigan State tick. And this year, they're top 25 in offensive rebounding percentage. They're top 25 in defensive rebounding percentage, and they're top 100 in average offensive possession length. Last year, they were in the 140s for both offensive and defensive rebounding percentage, and they were outside the top 200 in average offensive possession time. Like they're Sweeney, they're able to get out and run. They're able to clean up the glass, and they have a point guard this year that doesn't just have the ball stick in his hands. As much as I love Tyson Walker, and as much as I watched AJ Hoggard, those guys, like they weren't moving the ball. The thing wasn't swinging around. Like Jeremy Fears gets it, and that ball's up the floor. Right, like that thing is pinging around when he has the ball, and I think that this is much more of and throwing the fact. Look, we made fun of their bigs. I made fun of their bigs. I made fun of what Izzo did in the transfer market. He's got bigs that just kind of do what he needs them to do, which is be big, be tough, be physical, and board. I think that this Michigan State team, they really haven't beaten anyone. They got North Carolina on a neutral. They won at Ohio State, which like. Whatever, they beat Colorado out with Maui, but I think that they're real. Sweeney, am I wrong here? Like, are you with me? Can this team really go out there and I think not just a second weekend, but maybe deeper than that, the tournament?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like, I'll present the pushback case, even though I think I agree with you more than I disagree with you. Can a team that is not a great three-point shooting team, or really a bad three-point shooting team, right? 29%, they don't take a lot of them. They took 8 threes today. Like, right? Like at the end of the day, like
bad is the right way to phrase it, Sweeney. They're bad.
If you're a bad three-point shooting team, and you don't play your players 30 plus minutes, like will Jace Richardson play 30 minutes in an NCAA tournament game? Because he needs to. Like if they're going to be a Final Four team, like, and I think they have the pieces, like I really do, but I think it involves more Jace. It involves Fears being the Fears we've seen the last couple weeks, right? This week, 18 assists. That's elite. Like when he plays like that, this team has a ceiling. When Jace Richardson's on the floor, this team has a ceiling, right? I think I'm not quite ready to hit as a Final Four team because I worry about the shooting, and I worry that it's just too many bodies and not enough room for the stars to shine. But man, this is an impressive group. They have really overachieved in my eyes from where I expected to be, and they have grown a ton in the last 2 months. Like they are a completely different team than we were watching them in the bye games in November, and that's a huge credit to Tom Izzo.
Mm-hmm. Ant?
No, I mean I'm with you there. It is going to come down to letting the stars shine, and I think that's got to be Jaden Akins and Jace Richardson. I think those two have got to be the guys. I think Jeremy Fears has done an amazing job this year in his redshirt freshman season in terms of controlling the pace of the game, and it's so different with him on the court. And they're bigs. I talked about it earlier today, where the big man room is the best that it's been. It's still not Xavier Tillman good, but it's still night and day from the last few years, where you can throw the ball in the post. And I don't think Michigan State fans are like covering their eyes, right? They're throwing the ball in the post and they're like, okay, well, something good should happen here, whether it's a good pass, good shot, good footwork. They're not going to turn the ball over. Something positive is going to happen from them touching the basketball. And for you to go from like, please don't mess up to, yo, give this guy the rock, he can probably eat right now, are two very different things. And, that's probably a bigger shout out to Tom Izzo hiring Sadie Washington to really work with those bigs. And, you mentioned their rebounding. That's back to Michigan State basketball. They haven't been doing that the last few years, but we're back to Michigan State basketball. But I really think I think Jaden Akins needs one of those Michigan State senior ascensions where he just kind of plays out of his mind, and he becomes that all Big Ten player that we think he can be. And Jace Richardson can also be like an honorable mention, all freshman type of guy in Big Ten play. So when it's time for the tournament to roll around, when those guys are getting minutes, when those guys are getting the ball, they're going to be used to it. And it's not going to be a shock to them playing 30, 35 minutes, and they need to eat for all 30, 35 and be the guy.
Yeah. Michigan State's schedule ends like this. Their last 6 weeks are insane. They're at USC, at UCLA the first week of February. Then you get Oregon at home, Indiana at home, at Illinois, Purdue at home, at Michigan, at Maryland, Wisconsin at home, at Iowa, and then Michigan again. So they haven't really played that's insane. They haven't really played the most difficult schedule to date, but we'll know. We'll know if they're real. Then they're going to find out the hard way. And I'm going to go to you on this one because I think that if you look at the Big Ten standings right now, the top two teams, the only two undefeated teams in the conference, are the two teams in the state of Michigan. The Wolverines are sitting here at 13-3, and 5-0 in the Big Ten. They had a 91-75 win over Washington today. Vlad had 19-7. It was kind of a quiet night for Danny Wolf. Namari Burnett didn't miss a shot. He looked like a young Ant Wright out there. So we talked about, there you go. That's
Absolutely.
what Ant Wright was. He wasn't Michigan State.
He left them wide open.
Left them wide open. We talked about the Achilles heel with Michigan State being the 3-point shooting, and with Michigan, it's turnovers. Like, you can't turn the ball over on 20% of your possessions and be able to find a way to make a run. Like, I want to buy in all the way on Michigan. I love what they can do offensively. I love the Danny Wolf, Vlad Golden pick and rolls. I think that they got role players. I don't know if they really got a guy like a superstar. I don't know if they really got a point guard. I don't know if it really matters, but I just can't get behind this idea that, you're going to turn the ball over 1 out of every 5 times down the floor and be able to make a run to the Final Four, because it's going to catch you just like it did against Wake Forest, just like it did against Arkansas, and just like it did against Oklahoma. And all three of those losses now, Ant, don't look as good as they looked at the time.
Yeah, Iowa too. I mean, but Iowa was a game where they had a shot to win at the end. They just happened to miss. In those games too, like, Michigan dominated throughout all 3 of those games. So it's not a situation where I've seen the best team to play Michigan this year was Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the one team where Michigan did not have at least a 12-point lead. That's the only game. And when it comes to taking care of the rock, I think Danny has gotten better with his turnovers. Even if he has 3 or 4, they're not the same 3 or 4. Because before, like, he was throwing some live ball turnovers. He was getting picked. There was runouts. At least his turnovers now, there's a lot of dead ball stuff. It's a lot of stuff underneath the basket where at least guys
throw it out of bounds, man. Don't give up the pick 6 layups. Throw that thing out of bounds. Like, throw it over the top of somebody. Kick it out. Kick it to the other team's bench. Like, don't give them those free layups.
Exactly. Trey Donaldson's also been really good this year. Really nice surprise in terms of being able to shoot the rock, get to the basket. I love his energy. Like, you saw in the UCLA game when guys were out, guys had foul trouble, and he's just hitting like logo threes like it's absolutely nothing. I think they missed Roddy Gale in that UCLA game. I know they controlled the game. They went up 18. They went down by 4. They went up and won by 19. I think they still missed him as someone who can really attack ball pressure. And having him and Namari being able to get to the rack and be serviceable from 3, and the way that the Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden pick and roll thing works, I'm so glad I'm not in college now trying to guard that, because I don't know how you do it. But it's kind of nasty. But one thing that this team needs to do is they need to find a way to don't let a mistake snowball, because that's what's been happening a lot in these games where they go up and then within like seconds, like they're minus 15. And it's because they let mistakes over like 8 possessions. There's like 6 or 7 terrible mistakes. If they can mitigate that, I think they'll be okay. Both Michigan and Michigan State are undefeated. I do like Michigan's wins more because they have beaten Wisconsin and they have beaten UCLA. Michigan State does have a decent win against Nebraska at home, but Nebraska away from home is like Rutgers right now. They need to kind of figure that out. But I do like Michigan's wins a bit better based off who they played. But yeah, like we'll see as the game comes up and the schedules work themselves out.
I just think every time I turn on Michigan, like what an incredible job Dusty May did in roster building. Like the way these pieces fit together is just fantastic. And obviously so much of the talk is about Wolf and Golden, but Donaldson as a guy who can manage the game and make threes, Gale who can handle the ball and be physical and gives you that more toughness. Burnett shot the cover off the ball. Sam Walters is a big time shot maker. You got Cheddar off the bench who can shoot it. Like this is the modern way you want to build it. And again, it becomes a lot easier when you have the 7-foot point guard and Danny Wolf. That makes things look good no matter what you're doing. But they did a heck of a job basically starting from spring and building a Big Ten championship caliber team in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, you know what's wild about that too, Sweeney's? I think a lot of us were like, how are you going to play Danny Wolf and Vlad together in the summer? I was certainly like, you're going to play 2 7-footers together. Dusty, what are you doing, man?
I told everyone it's going to work. I told people they didn't believe me, bro. They didn't believe me. I got so many receipts, bro. Like they're like, yeah, but Wolf committed. Oh man, does that mean Golden's out? I'm like, no, bro. Like this has nothing to do with the other. Like they can play together. Cheese, they can play all together because Danny and Cheese can both shoot it, and they could both somewhat. Danny's much better with the ball, but Cheddar can drive it, and then when you have Golden, he's more of a 5 for sure. But those 3 guys you can get 2 of any, and it's gonna work for sure.
Mm-hmm. Sweeney,
all I'm saying, let's circle that Friday, January 24th, Michigan at Purdue at Mackey. That place is going to be electric, and I think this Purdue team has been super overlooked. Like I don't think people are talking about how dominant they've been lately, how elite Braden Smith has been. Like we go Big Ten contenders. Everybody wants to talk Michigan State. They want to talk Michigan. They want to talk Illinois. Purdue's still the king until someone knocks them off. And they've been playing great. They have the best point guard. They have the best coach. And they're the best venue in college basketball. Do not sleep on this Purdue group. I'm excited about this Big Ten. It's just such a loaded Big Ten race. That's the thing that's so much fun. It's the traditional brands. They all play different ways. There's star power at the top of all these rosters. Like it is going to be a fun next 6 to 8 weeks in the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is probably the best race since 12-13. I think this is the best top since 12-13 with the amount of good teams, but the pro potential on these teams as well. Outside of Purdue, but everybody else, just the pro potential on those teams. And Michigan State, actually. Never mind. You know what? X that last part.
Okay. We'll just erase that from the internet. Purdue did go.
I'm like, wait a minute. Rutgers isn't up there. They got 2 pros. Nah, they're down. Nah, we good.
So I'll say this about Purdue, right? And I agree with a lot of what you just said. I think if we're picking who's going to win the Big Ten regular season championship in a league where there's 18 teams, you don't get a true round robin, taking the team that has the home court that is maybe top 3 in America. I would say right now it's Cameron, the Fog, and Mackey in terms of the best home courts in college basketball. I think Purdue is a good bet to be able to go out and win it. I'm worried about them in March. And I know what you're saying about them looking great the last couple of weeks, right? You hold they gave up 61 points, 50 points, and 68 points a day. You did it against Minnesota, against Northwestern at home, against Rutgers, and then against Nebraska. So, it's not really the greatest competition in the world. And I do think that Purdue is the one team, and Kevin, I want both of your opinions on this. I think Purdue's the one team where they are very matchup dependent in the way that they can win. I just think if you have athletic guards that are going to be able to pressure Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, and then are going to be able to put pressure on the rim where Trey Kaufman-Wren has a whopping 3 blocks on the season, I think that those teams
What?
can really
Stop.
take advantage of. Yeah, he's 3 blocks in the
Stop.
season. Like I just think that those are the teams that can take advantage of what Purdue does. And if you look at who they've lost to, that's what Marquette does. That's what Penn State does. That's what Texas A&M does. That's what that's what Auburn does. So I really, really like this Purdue team. I think that they have as high a floor as anybody in college basketball. And I just don't know if they are the kind of team that's built to be able to do more than like beat the teams they're supposed to beat in March. I just don't see they're kind of trending towards what, like a 3-4 seed line here. And I just don't see them being able to get past the Sweet 16 round. I really like them. I just think that they're calling them a flawed roster is probably unfair. I just think that there's certain matchups that they're just not going to be able to deal with very well.
They're a little small. I mean, like we saw it in the Marquette and we saw it against Penn State, where you had guards who were able to really get after Braden. And it turned out that like TKR was like the second option of helping to create, and that just caused so many issues. But I think what Painter has done, he's seen it. Like if we see it, he's for sure seen it 10x, 15x. He's continued to change the formula in the lineups, and I think he's all in on CJ Cox now, which I think is a great move. I think he's the only other personnel piece who doesn't need a ball screen to kind of get his. And I think that's really, really special to have in college basketball. And to put that person beside Braden Smith, I think just opens up everything for that team. It gives Braden a little breather. It takes pressure off his shoulders. Braden doesn't need to shoot the ball 20 times. I like when he shoots it a lot. I love when he's aggressive. But the fact that he doesn't have to feel that he needs to do it, like today we saw with the CJ, how he was able to go and get his whenever he was asked to. He just needs more of those reps. So when March comes, I think you're right. You're like as target right on the dot when it comes to Purdue and matchups. I'm afraid for a really bad 13 seed matchup for them. I'm not going to lie, or like a really bad 12, because positionally they don't really overwhelm. And that's one of the bigger things that high majors usually have, is that they have that positional size. Purdue doesn't really have that positional size or athleticism outside of Colvin and Heidi. So you need a really good matchup. But until then, keep developing CJ Cox to just take that pressure off of TKR, Lawyer, and Braden Smith.
Yep. Sweeney, I want to ask you about Oregon here, and we'll get to Illinois in 1 second. But Oregon got 17-8 from Jackson Shell State, who's been terrific since that the embarrassing loss at home to Illinois. Third straight game where they had to come back and found a way to win. Just the only thing for Oregon with me is I really struggle with how to evaluate what they're doing in terms of the travel, right? When they're coming east and they're playing at different time zones and they got to make some of those longer flights. Like, should I value those wins on the road differently, or should I be like, well, some of these other contenders have been beating the brakes off Penn State, and Oregon needed to find a way to be able to come back from, I think it was 9 down with 7 minutes left to find a way to win on the road. That's the only thing I struggle with Oregon at this point. I think that they're pretty good. I just don't know if I'd put them in that top tier yet.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you that they're not quite in that top tier. I don't think they're quite as talented. And I don't think they're as overwhelming to play against, right? Like when you think about Michigan, it's, oh, wow, their size. With Illinois, it's their skill. With Michigan State, it's their depth and their speed and their rebounding, right? Like, I don't know that I can identify one thing with Oregon that's like, man, they are impossible to deal with in this category. But they're just well-rounded. They're old. Like, you go through this lineup, other than Shellstad, it's a lot of old dudes who've played a ton of basketball, who are tough, who've been in some wars, who've lost some close games. Like, think about what Nate Biddle has gone through in his college career. Like he's seen some stuff, man. And I think it's helped them. And if Shellstad continues to come along, which, I actually thought he was a little disappointing to start the year, right? There was so much excitement. It's year 2, huge recruit.
Absolutely.
The last 3 games, he's been electric and has willed them to victory in really tough spots, like 2 tough road games that they faced adversity in. And they found their identity. It was like, all right, like Shellstad's got to go make plays, and he has. So, I I understand your travel point. I think at the end of the day, like, if you're winning consecutive road games in this conference, you deserve a pat on the back. Like, I don't need the style points. Like, you go on the road and you win. You go sweep Ohio State and Penn State on the road. I don't care if you flew 3,000 miles or 30 miles. That's a heck of a performance. So
who's flying 30 miles, Sweeney? Are we flying 30 miles now? Is this what happened?
No, nobody's flying 30. But I've Big Ten chart. Some of those Big Ten charters are very short. Northwestern to Indiana, they charter that. That's like 20 minutes in the air.
Yeah, it's worth it. Get the Olive Garden, get the Gatorade. It's worth it.
Need it.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's talk about Illinois real quick. They lost yesterday to USC at home in a game where they didn't have Kasparis Yekashonis. And I said I think that was a result of two things, and I think it was the wrong game plan against Des Claude. I thought that they would have been better off having a bigger defender on him that kind of dared him to shoot, as opposed to using some of their smaller guards and trying to pressure a dude that thrives playing through contact. And I also think that not having KJ just completely changes the dynamic of what they are offensive. Like, he's the dude that makes all of those other pieces fit together. And when you don't kind of have that linchpin there, it kind of, everything can fall apart a little bit. I think they tried to steal one, knowing that they thought that they could get USC at home even without him, and I think they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar there. That's a hard thing to say. Hand in the cookie jar there.
It is.
I'm still in on Illinois as a Final Four contender, as maybe the most dangerous team of the Big Ten. It might be tough to win a Big Ten regular season now that you're 2 games back of first place, but I'm very much in on their ceiling. Ant.
I love Illinois. You know, even though the 2 losses are to Northwestern and to USC, I still like that team a lot. Not having Kasparis Yakajonis for the second game, I think, also matters, because now USC is prepping for that type of deal. When Penn State came in, they thought that Kasparis was going to be there. They probably didn't find out until like half an hour before the game that he wasn't playing. So your entire scheme that you've worked on the last couple days, I'm not gonna say is out the window, but now you have a totally different scheme that you're prepping and preparing for. Different guys are playing different roles. And I'll say this about USC: that is a very talented team. Their metrics suck because they had to figure stuff out in the first month, because they don't have a point guard. They play Desmond Claude at point guard right now. They figured that part out. They have a lot of close games to bad teams. They have the blowout against St. Mary's. So their metrics aren't great. I think they were like 78 on the net today. Metrics aren't great, but that is a very, very good, very talented basketball team. Desmond Cloud's a good player. Ogbo's a good player. St. Thomas is a good player. Yates has been really good the last couple weeks. And then you got Rashawn Agee came in because Josh Cohen completely blew a scout on Avicic. Now Rashawn comes in the game and he hits like his first 3 threes all year. And like, that's what it takes sometimes. I don't think of Illinois any differently after that. I think what I'm looking for next is, how long is Kasparis going to be out? Because he is man, I can't even explain how important he is to this team from a scoring standpoint, from an assisting standpoint. He helps out with the leadership. People don't understand how big he's like 6'5", 6'6", like 205, 210. Like, that is a big dude that is coming down the court, handling the ball, doing whatever he wants to do on the court. Legitimate top 5 lottery prospect. To just not have him sucks. You know, your ceiling is going to drop, your floor is going to drop, but they got to figure out a way right now. But I'm not low on them. You know, there are a lot of years where the Big Ten's best and most talented team doesn't win the whole thing. Doesn't win the Big Ten, but may have the most juice when it comes to the NCAA tournament. You look back at 12-13, that Michigan team was like 5th in the league or something. But they were probably one of the better suited to move forward. You see it all the time. I like that comp, in this league. Yeah, so like, you see it all the time in this league. So I'm not down on them. Their biggest thing is they have to continue to get Ben Hummerkaus playing at 3 levels. He's done an outstanding job the last few games of really diversifying his shot attempts. He's not just floating anymore. He's starting to post up, playing a bit of that booty ball, playing that in-between game, which I think is going to help out the entire team. Morris Johnson is coming on a lot. DGL is playing good ball. Jake Davis is earning the trust of the team. Will Riley still needs to kind of find his way against high major opponents. But, I mean, this is a team where you're looking at them a year and a half, no, not a year and a half, a month and a half, 2 months down the line. Where are they going to be at them? I'm not really focused on now. I think they'll be fine, but they got to get Kasparis back so they can continue to grow as a team.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the other thing I would just point out is that Penn State spot. I know their staff was fully aware of what Penn State has done to them the last couple of years, and spent days hammering in like, we can't have a letdown. We can't have a letdown, right? We have to find a way. And I think they came out incredibly engaged, right? It was perfect, like coming back from being on the road. You think everything's great, and they did a great job avoiding that. But then 3 days later, it's like, all right, we gotta play USC, and you just can't keep selling them that this is a big game, right? It's a home game. It's a game you're supposed to win. You think
11 a.m. Central
spread? Yeah, it's 11 a.m. Like it was the perfect letdown spot for Illinois. They played really bad. It would have helped to have KJ, obviously, but no huge concerns long term about this loss. I just think they had to find a way to get Will Riley going, and I was hoping that with KJ out these last 2 games that it would give him an opportunity to get some more on-ball reps, build some confidence, and he just can't make a shot. Like it's brutal because he's such an elite shot maker. Like Will Riley, if you've ever watched Will Riley play AAU, it is a sight to behold. Like he is a dynamic shot creator, and right now, I think his confidence is a little shot, and they got to keep him shooting and hope it comes, because this team's ceiling takes even another level if they can get him going. But right now, this is a really good group when KJ's on the floor. And I agree with Ant that Michigan comp from about a decade ago is a good one.
Yeah, I'll make sure to catch the next AAU game that Will Riley plays. Sweeney, I'll make sure to put that one in the the old Google Calendar and lock that one in. Listen, we gotta talk about some of the biggest news of the weekend. Cooper Flagg went nuts. Iowa State looks like they might be making a little bit of a push here to be one of the more underrated teams, and obviously Johni Broome. We will have some news on his ankle injury and what it kind of means for Auburn moving forward. That is coming up after the break. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description. Well, welcome back to the Sunday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. Rob Dauster, Kevin Sweeney, Ant Wright. We're going to dive into some of the bigger storylines from the top 5 teams that were in action on Saturday. I want to pick your guys' brains a little bit about Duke, because I think at this point Duke might be the best team in college basketball. But before we get into that, we got to talk about the front runner for the National Player of the Year award as of today, Johni Broome. hurt his ankle. He underwent an MRI. Does not need to get surgery on it, Sweeney. They don't really have a time frame for how long he's going to be out. I would guess that we are talking weeks, multiple weeks, plural. And if I was an Auburn fan, I would be hoping like he is back to 100% by the time we get to about mid-February. I'm not sourcing that. That's just kind of the, you know how bad some of these ankle injuries are, and the way that he looked afterwards would be the goal if I was an Auburn fan. But what do you make of Broome being out? What do you make of what Auburn is now? And how much does this impact them, their season, their ceiling, and the way that you view this team moving forward?
I mean, first of all, I sort of think Johni Broome's Superman. Like the fact that he didn't break anything, seeing how his ankle bent, and a couple of weeks ago when he popped his shoulder out and just like popped it back in and played the next game, like this dude is tough as nails, man. And hopefully he's back soon as possible. Obviously, having an incredible season. This was their worst performance of the year against South Carolina. They were bad, and it's not just Broome's injury. Like they probably deserve to lose and just kind of battled and found their way. I don't have any major long-term concerns with them, assuming that Broome does come back healthy. But for this middle stretch, I wonder if teams can pick them off, because without Broome, it just changes everything about how they play, because he's so involved in everything. He can pass. Like Johni Broome has a 23% assist rate and an 8% turnover rate. That's like point guard numbers, and he's their 4/5. Like he's been incredible, and it's covered some of the weaknesses of the other pieces on the roster, right? Like Pettiford's been really fun to watch, but Pettiford's a combo. He's not like a true run the team guy, and they've been able to get away with not a true point guard because they could really trust Johni Broome as a playmaker. So, everything changes if he's not on the floor. And this league is unforgiving. Right? Mississippi State, at Georgia, home Tennessee, at LSU, at Ole Miss, your next 5. Like that ain't fun. It is going to be a grind for them for as long as Broome is out. But I still think bigger picture once he's back. I love this group. I'm also just going to chime in. I think Dauster, you were on the show with me when I mentioned the comp of this Auburn team to 22-23 UConn. And that they should have been number one forever. They're the clear wagon. They're rolling in their MT. They have all these wins, and their point guard plays a question. Like there's so many weird things. Well, wouldn't this injury perfectly time up for that mid-January swoon that knocks everyone off, just like the Huskies a couple years ago? So this is all part of the script, I think.
Yeah, there you go. And
anytime you lose like a National Player of the Year candidate, it's going to suck. It's going to hurt. But like one thing that Bruce Pearl has with Auburn is depth. Like that's his culture. That's been his culture wherever he's been at, so there's no surprise that they won that game. I know they didn't play great, but the fact that he was out and they were able to still fight back on the road in the SEC, I think just, speaks volumes to next man up. You're going to see a lot more Chaney Johnson, a lot more Dylan Cardwell. I don't even know who else he has on the roster behind there, just from the depth on the team and running out as many guys as possible. But I love what I saw. I know he's a freshman. I know he's a combo, but Pettiford, he was able to make a lot of winning plays in that game against South Carolina. This is just going to be a big spot for them to just continue to grow, continue to get better. So when Johni comes back, now it's even a more well-oiled machine because so many guys have stepped up into much bigger roles, and then him joining that fray, they're going to be better than they were when he got hurt and came out. So I still like Auburn. Bruce Pearl is an elite coach, and it's just a matter of next man up, and that's his culture, and that's what they'll do.
Yeah, I was, even before the injury, I was kind of trending a little bit towards, Duke might actually be the best team in college basketball here. And then the same day that Johni Broome sprains his ankle, Cooper Flagg goes for 42.7 assists, 6 rebounds on all of 14 shots. Coming off of what was the first time that we saw like a viral moment from him during the week when he had that dunk against Pitt. Duke's sitting here at 14-2 now. They're a couple of late possessions away from being undefeated. with Malik Brown healthy, and I don't think we have word on that yet, but hopefully it's not too serious. But with him healthy, they look like the best defensive team in the sport. When they take out their 7-foot rim protector, Common Malawak, and then they go with Malik Brown at the 5 with Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple and Tyrese Proctor and Sion James, and all of a sudden you got 5 dudes that are all between 6'6" and 6'9" and can guard point guards and 5 men. Like, what do you do with that when they start switching on you? Sweeney, I don't know where you're at, but I was, even before the what happened this weekend, I was starting to trend a little bit towards, Duke might actually be the team in college basketball this year.
Yeah, they're dominant right now, and I think they're going to be throughout conference play. I still think I would lean Auburn just because the body of work and what they've accomplished. But you laid it out. They are very complete. Cooper has taken his game to another level here as he gets comfortable. I think people have forgotten that Cooper Flagg turned 18 even a month ago.
December.
I mean,
like 2 weeks ago.
It's absolutely insane what he's doing, and he's getting better as the season goes on. He's been the Ken Pom MVP of 4 straight games. He is absolutely taking over college basketball right now, and it's exciting to watch. This group is so complete. Look, I wish we were seeing them play the type of schedule in conference play that Auburn will have to, that Tennessee will have to, that a lot of the other elite teams will have to, because I just don't think they're going to be super tested heading into March. And we saw them struggle in big late game situations in November. I wish I could see some of those here in the next couple of weeks, but it's a good problem to have.
They get Illinois next month.
That game is going to be a monster. But it's a good problem to have that you're never in close games because you're so good that you just blow everyone out.
Yeah.
So
ACC sucks, man. What happened to that conference? Dog?
All the Hall of Famers retired. They started spending $10 million a year on Bill Belichick. Serious question: If you're like a guy in the SEC in the middle of the bottom, like in middle of the bottom program job, or somewhere in like the Big 12, why wouldn't you try to make the leap to one of these ACC jobs that are going to open up? Why wouldn't you leave a bottom of the Big 12 program to try to go get like Florida State or Miami in a conference where, who are you, other than John Shire's recruiting ability? Is there anybody in that league that you would sit there and say, hey, you know what? I am terrified of them as a coach. I'm terrified of him as a recruiter.
Absolutely.
I kind of feel like that's the smart, professional career play, is to go find a job in the ACC and go win a whole bunch of games. All due respect to Brad Rennell, because he can absolutely coach his nuts off, but he's basically got the same team that he's had there for 15 years, and they went from being I wonder if this is going to be the year they finally get in the tournament, to, oh, you know what, they might be a top 3 team in this conference for the second straight season. And it's the same dudes, the same style. He's recruiting the same players. He's just been able to level up in the league, because the rest of the league has kind of come back down a peg or two.
It's just so bad. It's just so – they have – half the league doesn't even have 10 wins yet. Half. Literally half. 9 teams have less than 10 wins. It's so bad. But I have been very, very impressed with Duke ever since I watched them against Kentucky. And I'd picked Kentucky to win that game, but I left very impressed with Duke from the way that they competed, from the way that they played defense. I think that's the biggest part, is defensively. They are really, really good. Forget all the cool stuff that Cooper can do, and Khan and Malawak and all that stuff. Defensively, they are so good. They are so good defensively. Proctor, head of the snake, very good defensively. But, Cooper being able to just switch out on pretty much anyone and bother the basketball. Off ball, he's a menace because of how long his wingspan is, and he's just so active. Malawak is an elite rim protector. I mean, it's I am bought in on Duke. I don't think they're better than Iowa State. I think Iowa State's the best team right now. And I would say,
Why?
I was always an Auburn person. I was always an Auburn person. I'm still right there with Auburn. I think they're 1A, 1B, in my opinion. I love Iowa State, man. I love Iowa State. I think Keshawn Gilbert is a pro. I think he may go like second round undrafted, but I think he's one of those guys who you're going to see just end up on a roster somewhere. He's such a good player. I'm all in on that backcourt. Lipsy, just the way that they play on both ends. This way that they play on both ends, and they just don't make mistakes. And I think that's just dangerous to have a team who can not only score but also lock you down. Watching Texas Tech, shout out Christian Anderson, bro, freshman from Texas Tech, shooting the ball and really guarding a very old backcourt in Iowa State. But Iowa State just made winning plays after winning plays with their back against the wall. They have so much toughness, both physical and mental. It's really hard to go against them. And, I've seen where they were a bit outmatched with Iowa just shooting the blood off the ball. Didn't matter. They made winning plays and came back. You had guys who don't really shoot the ball well, say, like, you know what? It's my turn. Let's get it out of here. So I'm big on Iowa State. I'm all in on TJ Otzelberger. I have been since like 2021-ish, 2022-ish. I'm very high on him. And then I read that article that he runs his program like the military low-key. I'm like, yo, this is insane. But you know what? It works. It works, and he has guys who bought in. If you have guys who know what that's about and they stay multiple years, like, you've got to have some tough SOBs on that team.
Mm-hmm. Sweeney?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you could make a good case for Auburn. I think you make a good case for Duke, and I think you can make a good case for Iowa State right now. Like, I think it's 1A, 1B, 1C. And I think what they did yesterday was really impressive. I don't think people have talked nearly enough about what Josh Jefferson has brought to the table. Like, Joshua Jefferson has changed his team offensively, and was huge yesterday. He is, to me, like, maybe the most undervalued player in the sport, and gives them a chance because, look, last year it wasn't good enough. I think everyone knew this is a really good team, but it wasn't a team necessarily that could win a title because they weren't good enough offensively. This year's group is, and a lot of that's Gilbert's growth, but a lot of that has been Jefferson and giving him a different look in the front court. So been really impressed. I think the top of the sport is loaded with those three teams. I think you could pick any of them. I'm still sticking with Auburn, but I mean, I wouldn't feel great about it, and I wouldn't argue with any of your points.
Yeah, underrated passer too. Very good passer. He had 7 dives against Iowa. Very, very sexy.
Yeah, I'm with you on all three of those teams. I will just say, though, I'm going to put a pin in this right here. In a month's time, I think that Alabama is going to be right there in that conversation with those other three teams, and maybe ahead of a couple of those other ones. I think that they figured it out. Listen, we have some overreactions. They didn't come from us. They came from you guys. We're going to break them down, whether or not they're reactions, overreactions, underreactions, or just absolute, utter, complete insanity. Coming up next. There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that. Welcome back to the Sunday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. Go Birds, baby. Survive in advance. We are going to dive into some overreactions, and then we're going to get into our toast of the night, and we're going to get out of here. We got about 10 minutes left on the show. We're going to start with an overreaction from @TheBadgerManiac. You guys are going to be shocked to find out that he is a Wisconsin fan, and his overreaction, Ant. Wisconsin is a dark horse Final Four contender, top 10-ish offense, good solid, blah, 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 all that. You guys can see the tweet right there. But the overreaction is that Wisconsin is a Final Four contender. And where do you stand on that?
I don't think that's a hot take. I love John Todger. I love John Blackwell, the way that he's been able to improve this season. Klesmit's gotten better. Kamari McGee is one of those, like, if there was like a All-American glue guy team, he'd be first team on there. Nolan Winter has been very good this year. Crowell's been good. Janicki's been good off the bench. I mean, this team is someone who was flying under the radar because they lost. I think their 3 losses are to like the top 14 of the net or something, or top 13 of the net. I have to check. It was all back-to-back games too. It was like one segment. That's it. They ran into a buzzsaw, and I think they lost those games by a total of 23 points. I think that this team is – I love a team that has a backcourt who can out-physical the other team. I think guarding John Tanji and John Blackwell, you can't guard them with the same person. Do you have 2 people who can physically match up with them? Usually the answer is no. So I think they are going to need – it comes down to matchups in the NCAA tournament, a little bit of luck and all those things, but absolutely a dark horse for the Final Four. I am all in on that take. I think they are also a dark horse to win the Big Ten as well. They have one 5-game segment that's a little rough. One 5-game segment that's a little rough. Outside of that, their schedule is one of the better schedules when it comes to winning probably 14 games or so, where I can see them tying for sure, 100%.
Sweeney? You're muted, Sweeney.
My bad. Sorry, y'all. I my one thing with Wisconsin would be defense. I just don't think they're an elite defensive team. I think you need that in March. Physicality wise, like they have those bigger wings, which helps, but they don't protect the rim at a super high level. They don't force turnovers. I think that would be the one thing that holds me back. But they've been really good, really competitive.
Yeah,
I respect that.
I overreaction. Look, I need to see Wisconsin do it before we get there. I don't think that they're a top 6 team in the Big Ten. We're talking about them getting to a Final Four. Let's get to the Final Four of the Big Ten tournament. Come on,
they lost to Illinois by 6. They lost to Illinois by 6, and they're the only team.
Illinois.
They're the only team. They're the only team Michigan has not bullied this season, and that's saying something.
What? They what?
That's
to
the
Michigan?
only team. That's the only team. That's the only team Michigan is not bullied. Well,
all
Michigan wins a lot of games. That's the only team.
Overreaction number 2 is coming from Card Illini, the Illini fan card collector on the app known as X. If KJ Kasparis Yakashonis is healthy, Illinois can win the national championship. Sweeney, this is not an overreaction. I think this is a proper reaction. I think this is a proper take. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think them at their best is one of the best teams in the country. Like their highest ceiling is in that elite tier we were talking about last segment. I don't think we see that every night, right? They're gonna lay some eggs, but yes, they could win a national championship when KJ is playing as well as he has balance, when they're shooting the ball like they can beat anyone on any night.
Mm-hmm. Ant?
You got to look it up, but over the last 30 or 40 years, there have been 0 national champions that do not have a perimeter pro. 0 without a perimeter pro. They have a perimeter pro in Kasparis Yakashonis, so they check the box of the analytics of being eligible to win a national championship.
Analytics, there you go. All right, overreaction. I agree with both of you guys, by the way. Like I think that their ceiling is as high as anybody in the sport when they're right. Overreaction number 3 comes from the coin toss, and he says Duke will not lose another game. Sweeney, is Duke gonna rip off? What would it be? It would be 16 more in the regular season, 3 in the ACC tournament, 6 in the NCAA tournament. Are they going to rip off 24 straight to win the national championship here, the Duke Blue Devils? What say you, Kevin Sweeney?
It might be too hot a take for me, but I will point out Duke has a 31.7% chance of going undefeated in the ACC per Ken Pom right now. Like, that is an insane number. Like, that is an unfathomably high percentage. That they are to win 14 straight more games, I believe, in league play. That would be
Atlantic Cheeks Conference. That's what the ACC stands for.
Look, they're not going undefeated in the ACC. I'm sorry, they're not. They are going to lose a game to North Carolina. They might not lose any other games. They might go 19-1 of the league, but they are going to lose a game to North Carolina because it is the North Carolina-Duke rivalry, and insane stuff happens every single year in that rivalry. It's a rivalry game, and something is going to happen crazy there. Is Duke going to lose again at some point? That's the overreaction.
No, that's what I was going to say. They're going to split with North Carolina, which happens all the time. It happens. It's not going to dictate anything about their future or anything like that. And maybe losing a game allows them to retool and get even better so they can win a national championship. So, yeah, you probably want them to drop a game here so they could still win the ACC, win the ACC tournament, make a move to the Final Four, keep it moving.
All right, my favorite thing about these overreactions is what we're going to get coming up next on the Kentucky. Kentucky Bias says Kentucky is a god squad, and Sean P67 says Kentucky is soft. So, Ant, after seeing Kentucky go on the road and beat Mississippi State, coming 4 days after going on the road and getting smacked by Georgia, is Kentucky a god squad or is Kentucky soft? It's got to be one or the other, man. What is it?
They're not soft. They're not soft. You can't be outside of O. They're pretty unathletic, so you can't be soft and unathletic and be as successful as they've been. I can't call them a god squad either. They're just old. They're just old, and they know how to win, and they know how to just finish games, and that's what it kind of comes down to. I can't. I'm not doing this. That's on you. So, that's ridiculous.
Sweet.
God squad or soft? There's got to be another word that we can use.
I mean,
no
really
middle
impressive.
ground, man. It's overreaction. It's overreaction Sunday. There's no middle ground. It's got to be one or the other.
I'll go with God squad because I can't call them soft. I just can't. Like, the results say otherwise. So I can't call them soft. So I guess I default to God squad. I'll default.
I think they're really good. I will say I think their defense has been a little soft lately. Last 6 high major played, they've given up 1.2, 1.16, 1.25, 1.39, 1.1, and now yesterday 1.22 points per possession defensively. Like, that's not going to cut it. If you're trying to win a national championship, which Kentucky wants to do, if you want to make a Final Four, which Kentucky wants to do, you got to be better defensively than they've been the last month or so.
Yeah. If I have to pick one of those two, I would have to go God Squad too, because any team that's got Lamont Butler on it, I'm not going to call him soft. Lamont Butler, he scares me. But I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. We talked about that last night at depth about Kentucky's defense. So if they don't start guarding a little bit better, they got to find a way to be able to do that to win. The last overreaction, we are getting Michigan versus Michigan State in the Elite Eight this year. Sweeney, are you predicting that matchup right now? You got to call it right now. That would probably mean that Michigan or Michigan State would be the 2. They'd have to be like the 2 and the 3 seed, right? No, it'd have to be the 1 and the 2 seed, or a 2 and a 4, or a 1 and a 3. I don't know, whatever it is. Are we getting those 2 in the Elite Eight?
I think both are good enough to be Elite Eight teams. I don't think there's almost any chance that they would be bracketed in the same region, but it would be a lot of fun. Hey, so for the sake of TV race, let's put this one together.
Yeah, I wouldn't complain about it. Ant?
Shout out Thumbs, top 5 middle school teacher in Michigan. What up, buddy? I'm probably gonna have to go.
Wait, you actually know him? You know this guy?
I know Thumbs. He's big time, bro. His name's Tom. He's big time. Yeah. Come
His
on,
name
man.
is
I know
Tom
everybody.
Thumbs.
No, his name is not Tom Thumbs. No, it's not Tom Thumbs.
Look,
But he's a teacher. He's the man. I contribute to his like yearly room fund every single year. He's super dope. I'm gonna have to go no, because I just don't think they're gonna be in the same region and I don't think they're going to be on the same side. But the NCAA does weird things to get those matchups. Like they're probably going to make Michigan State and Duke a Sweet 16 matchup because they just love to do that. They just do it every single year. So,
look, I'll tell you this: as somebody who now makes a living based off of the number of people that are going to tune in to the show that he does, I am not complaining about having these crazy matchups in the Sweet 16. Like, let's do this, man. Let's get these. I want Kentucky playing Louisville in the 1-8 game of the NCAA tournament this year. Like, I'm in. Let's get all the chips in the middle. Let's get these crazy matchups. I want these rivalry games. I'm not complaining about that anymore. I'm in. Let's do it. I think both those teams are good enough to make a Final Four. I think that I said it earlier. I think Michigan State is better built to be able to make a run than Michigan is. I also think both of them have flaws that could get them picked off in the first round. But since we're doing Overreaction Sunday here, give me both of them in the Elite Eight. I think they can make it, and hopefully they play, man. I'm not going to complain about that at all. Toasts of the night, and then we're getting out of here. Sweeney, we're going to you first. Who are you toasting on this Sunday night?
I'm going to toast the St. Thomas versus South Dakota game Saturday. 119 to 104 in a 40-minute college basketball game. That's modern hoops, man. A lot of scoring.
I love it. Shout
out to Coach Johni Tower at St. Thomas. 14-5 in year 4 in the transition 3 to D1.
Ant?
I'm going to go with CJ Cox on his day-to-day. He had 23 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 steals. Needs some more of that. But being able to do that as a starter against a Nebraska team who's pretty good defensively. My stupid dog.
He disagrees with you, man.
Cox.
He's out. He's out on CJ Cox.
Yeah, he's out on
CJ Cox.
I got to go CJ Cox. Purdue put up 104 today on a very good defense behind CJ Cox. We're good. Shout out to Braden Smith for 14 dimes today too, man.
Yeah. He wanted. I was thinking about toasting him, and then I realized it was against Nebraska, and Nebraska was playing on the road, so I just assumed like you're running 5-on-0 offense there. So basically, it's not that impressive to get 14 assists running 5-on-0 offense. I am going with the West Virginia Mountaineers. Go on the road, take down Colorado. Javon Small, 26 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. That dude is having an All-American caliber season. They've been without Tucker DeVries for I don't know, it's close to a month now or something like that. Like we'll see if he ends up coming back. Like it might make more sense at this point to shut it down and try to get another season if he can. But Javon Small has been carrying that team. He's been unbelievable. West Virginia is, as of this very moment, a team that deserves to be in the NCAA tournament, and a lot of it has to do with Javon Small picking up a road win at elevation, flying across the country. Not the easiest thing to do, and West Virginia found a way to get it done. So there you have it. To the Mountaineers, to the St. Thomas, South Dakota game, and to
CJ Cox.
CJ Cox, who Ant's dog, not a big fan of. Sorry about that, CJ. We Field of 68 is a fan of you. Ant Wright's pup is not a fan of you. So for Kevin Sweeney, for Ant Wright, for our producer, Tom Turner, who was all fired up to hear that Ant loves Iowa State almost as much as he does. He's an Iowa State alum. My name is Rob Dauster. We'll see you guys again. Tuesday night is the next episode of After Dark that we are going to be doing. So we'll see you guys Tuesday night. It's going to be I don't know if you guys have looked at that Tuesday slate yet, but it is absolutely nuts, and I